Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a 105 leFH18B2, the French Tier 5 Premium SPG that's known as Fifi La Pew Pew to us, but known to everyone else as a leaf blower or a leFH. And this one, located on the south spawn of Kharkov, and is under the command of Zin 1983. Now, some of you might have been actually wondering why I actually call it Kharkov, not Kharkov. It's actually because the pronunciation is Kharkov. That is the correct name for this place, just as the correct pronunciation for Kiev is not Kiev or Kiev chicken, like the meal. It's not Kiev. You don't pronounce the V as such. It's Kiev. Now, this is a much better map than the previous Kharkov map, which was more, well, it was more designed for heavy tanks to battle it out, because it was just not a map for Arty. This is a much better map for Arty because it's got a much bigger field, but you can still fire into the town if you need to. Well, Zin's now looking into the field. He's found his first targets, a Leopard and a T-34 shielded. It's a tier 6 game with tier 5 Arty in it. Okay, he's fired around in at the T-34, but he didn't give enough time or enough lead on the target for the speed of the vehicles. But they've come to a halt around about that spot, and I think they're going to use those bushes to see what's going on around them. And big explosions there in the distance. Yep, T-34 was in the bushes, just as I predicted. Fires another one in and just misses him. Now this Arty will do 410 alpha and will go through, if I remember correctly, 59mm of armor, 53, sorry, and 1.91 meters is the splash radius. So you have to get the shell fairly close to the enemy in order to do damage to them. But if you do hit them, you've got a pretty good chance of penetrating them, and if you do pen 410 alpha, yes, that's going to do a lot of damage to a tier 5 or a tier 6 tank. Usually the Fifi doesn't pen and it just pecks the enemy to death, 100 hit points at a time. He anticipated the Leopard was going to turn right. It turned left and jinked away from him. There's the T-34 shielded. Now that's quite a good player, I can see that. And he's avoiding the shells now. He knows that there's an enemy Arty firing in on this position, and he's doing his best to avoid shots. The M4A1 stopped prematurely. You see, half of the expertise in playing Arty is in anticipating what the enemy tank's going to do and putting the shell where you think they're going to be. Now Zim was obviously thinking that the M4A1 was going to be further back, so that's why he aimed behind the tank. And then he aimed ahead of it with his next shot, and he got that one wrong as well because the guy didn't move forward. But that shot was bang on target, and he could see that the tank was moving gently from one side to the other, backwards, side on, and the shell hit the tank side on, and that was the end of him. Oh, what's he doing here? Well, the Fifi is actually a Char B1, the French tank. It should actually technically be in the German tech tree because it was a capture tank, a Butte tank. Yes, the Germans captured quite a few tanks from the Allies during the war, and they converted them for use for their own forces, because after all, this is quite a complex piece of machinery worth a lot of money, and they wanted them for use by their own forces to save money. In fact, the Germans did save a lot of money because they captured a lot of tanks and put them to use on their own side, mostly as garrison tanks. Quite a few of the times they would actually just take a tank and stick it with a garrison of troops in some French town or some occupied country, and then they use that tank to pacify the local population, because after all, the local population barely had the means to fight back against the Germans. Long range shot from the Valiant, who pulls back just into cover just in time. He's dialing in on that spot again, fully dialed in, waiting for the Valiant to come out. Now the reticule was drifting to the left there, and that's something that Wargaming put in We didn't understand why it was happening for a while, but apparently as if the tank goes unspotted, the reticule starts drifting in the direction of an enemy tank that is spotted. And that T-67 at the time was spotted. And now we've got two enemy heavies have made their way into the cap circle. And it looks like it's going to be up to Zin to get the resets. First shot. Yep, Churchill 7 took a big hit there. Nice 361 hit points. Oh, only 18 on the next one. It's probably on where the shell actually landed to how much damage it did. And 128. The next shot's going to kill this guy. Here we go. Rounds out. Yep, got him. Got the Valiant turning up now. And he's 100% health. No, he slightly short on what he needed to there. So he did get some damage, but not a lot. And he did track the guy. That's better. 127 from that one. Now, those two wrecks are quite convenient for somebody to hide behind, but I think the enemy made a bit of a mistake trying to turn up just with the two heavy tanks, because there's a whole bunch of our guys sitting on the hill overlooking the cap area. And that means that they could easily see what was going on in the cap and shoot at them. Rounds out that Valiant. Near miss. Now people might ask why I actually say round out. Well, it's mainly because actually to indicate that when the person has actually fired. Normally when artillery were communicating to a forward observer who was watching what was going on, someone who might be taking this battle assistant approach, looking at the target, they need to be told when the round had actually been fired by the Arty, because there's going to be a delay of a few seconds before the shell reached the target. At the moment, the distance that Zin is away from the target is about a 2-second delay. But he'd need to know so he could keep his head down as the shells came flying in, and he didn't get hit by the splash himself, because most modern artillery, they're really quite, well, the shock waves are quite strong. It can be very disconcerting. Fires around at the Valiant, and nope, that one misses. Lining up another shot, dialing in. That's better. One of the great things about the FIFI is the fact that it will dial in as fast as it reloads, so you can get accurate shots again and again. And he's got that Valiant, so that's 3 kills now that Zin's got. Box tank in the town, hiding behind the houses at the moment. Okay, that Valiant he can hit, and he's in constant sight from our team, so we should be able to get some shots on him. Rounds out. This looks good. Yes! 96. But it didn't track him. Rounds out. He's pulling back, and oh, we did get that hit as well. He's marked the target as his using the T key to tell teammates that that's where he's going for. But they've lost sight of him now, so we'll have to wait until he comes back in. We're only 1 tank ahead of the enemy, but we do control their cap area. And although we're not capping at the moment, that would actually prompt them to go back and get resets. We could if we wanted to. I think most of the team are actually going for no cap, kill all at the moment. I generally like to actually have a cap in progress because it forces the enemy to come back to their cap, and then you know where they are. He fires around at the Valiant and just misses him. He actually did damage the track there. Fires another one a bit short. Oh, we lost our Valiant. In fact, it was their enemy Arty who actually killed him. And now he might be in the park quite some distance away. That's in the north part of the picture, or the top of the picture, you might say. Okay, we've got an enemy Valiant over here. They're now ahead of us, actually. They've managed to kill enough tanks to be 1 ahead. But we still have control of their cap area and our own. So it's still looking as if it'll go in our favour. but it's not guaranteed yet. To be honest, that Valiant tank we can see at the moment really ought to get into the cap and protect the Chaffee who's nearby. And if the two of them capped, it would force the enemy to come out. And even if the Valiant was killed, the Chaffee would continue with the cap. I'd also prefer it actually myself if one of our tank destroyers like the Hellcat or the Stug decided to go north and help them. The Hellcat would probably be the best option. Well, the Valiant's making his way towards the Chaffee, and they've taken up the same position. So I think they are within view range of any enemy tank who pops their nose out. But in fact, actually, the Valiant is he driving backwards? Certainly looks like he is. Yes, he is driving backwards with his face to the with his front to the enemy. The Chaffee didn't go into the cap because he's very low on hit points. There's 4 minutes left, but I get the sneaking feeling that this is going to end up a draw, because none of them are willing to actually take the initiative and actually do something in the cap. Valiant's going behind the cap area to those piles of ice. The enemy Valiant's making his way down this dip. Our tank destroyers didn't spot it. Oh, and one of them has paid for the price because the Stug got taken out by him. He is being hit by the Hellcat. Now Zin needs to get these shots on target. Line them up. Oh, a bit far, you missed that. He went underneath the shell. And they're all now coming in to try and seize the cap. And they've started capping whilst our Valiant's capping at the other end. Oh, he got a lovely shot there on the Valiant and killed him. Enemy M44. And he kills him as well. Even though he pulled back, we did see the kill. And unfortunately, we've lost the Hellcat. Now would be a good idea to actually load the heat. He's got 5 heat rounds. Only 4 HE left. He fired that one blind. It's 2 versus 4 now. And he's not going to see that Valiant until he gets really close. I'd load the heat ammunition, punch a shell right through his front. Either that or an AP round. Don't drive forward. Let him come around the corner. You're in the bushes. It's going to be more difficult for him to detect you. And he'll only spot you if you move. 2 minute. Here we go. He's very low on hit points. Yes! Well, he used up one of his HE rounds, but he got the kill. There is an enemy Arty, so he has to move away from that bush. I would not be surprised if the enemy Arty planted a round into that bush, so don't go back in it until he does. Again, there's another thing I would do is I would move away from this bush now, and it's going to be too late for us to cap out because it's now gone past 1 minute 15 and it takes 1 minute 40 to cap. They killed the Valiant at the other end while we were trying to kill the Valiant down this end. 2 versus 3. This could so easily have been a win if after capturing the cap area they forced the cap and gone at it. But now the enemy can't cap out. At least not unless they put all their forces in the cap. And he fires a round in. And again, he looks away after he shoots. And we don't see what happened. But I think he did actually do some damage. He might have. Don't look away. He does get a hit there. Potentially a high caliber. And the guy's coming straight towards us. Almost suicidally. And that one, he got a hit with the heat rounds. And it did go through. He's out of HE now. So he has to get direct hits on the target now in order to get kills. Otherwise he's going to be making expensive holes in the ground, because these shells are very expensive. So fully dialed in on the target, and we've lost the Chaffee. There's only 2 seconds, 1, and it's all over. So lucky that they got the draw at the end, because they were starting to lose tanks. So let's have a look at the end of battle stats. Well, it was an ace tanker for Zin 1983 in the 105 leFH18B2, Fifi La Pew Pew. Managed to get a Bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits in this one. He got 22, a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game. And when he killed that box tank, he actually got a top gun. He got 6 kills. So very well done for getting that, but it was very close at the end. The win rate from that battle was 10,035 Super Unicum standard. But it was really a case of they were sending everything, and they piecemeal, one at a time, into the camp. If they'd sent all of them together at the same time, it would have been much more difficult to actually try and take them all out, and they potentially could have won that way. In fact, their own team could have actually won if they'd captured the cap and then started working on it at the other end, forced the enemy to come back. I think the enemy was too deep into the city to actually do much about it. Anyway, let's have a look at team score and see how well he did. 2,430 hit points of damage. He wasn't the only one to get over 2,000 hit points. That was the box tank. He also got 2,109. And then after that, it was the Hellcat on his team with 1,694. But the Hellcat got taken out by the Valiant in the end. When it came to kills, it was Zin with 6 kills. 3 kills went to the M44 and the Valiant on the enemy team. And 2 kills went to the Hellcat, the Chaffee, the SU-100Y, the box tank, and the Valiant, the last one that was alive at the end of the game, who went into the cap. And he also managed to get a steel wall in that game as well. When it came to base XP, it was in with 705, 538 to, in fact, sorry, 568 goes to the Valiant on the enemy team, 538 went to his Hellcat, and 536 went to the Valiant on his own team. He fired 46 rounds of ammunition in that game, got 18 direct hits and 2 penetrations, 22 splash. Damage of 2,430 hit points, of which 2,220 were at more than 300 meters. 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 6 killed, and 286 hit points of damage assistance, and he got 39 defense points when resetting the cap. On a premium count, he earned 47,261 credits, 6,075 for courageous resistance. That's for getting a battle hero or an epic medal in a losing or drawn game. This was a drawn game. 53,336 credits total. And after ammunition resupply, took away 39,832 credits. He received 1,057 XP, got 631 for courageous resistance, 676 from premium vehicle tier, and took away 2,365 experience points altogether. So yes, he didn't actually pull away that often, but he did pull away right at the end with one of those shots on the box tank. Now I know how frustrating it can be sometimes. I've mapped my middle key to be my sniper view, and when I press my fire button, my left hand mouse button, sometimes I accidentally click the middle button at the same time and come out of sniper view and miss what actually happens to the shell. And I know it's very annoying. It's something I constantly try to correct myself on, and I certainly advise against anyone that if they have got into the habit of pulling back, please don't, because it is very annoying to watch a battle where you can't actually see the damage being done to the enemy. But Zin acquitted himself fairly well here in the end, because he actually did stop the enemy getting a victory. If that box tank had come on and taken out both the Chaffee and taken out Zin, then they would have got a victory at the last minute, but in the last second actually. But yes, this one went down to the wire, and thankfully Zin was able to hang on long enough to win the game. Although I would say he did go back to that bush. The enemy M41 didn't fire on that bush, and he should have done so, but he didn't. And if he had done so, I think he would have caught Zin with a shell straight on when he went straight back into the same bush after he killed the Valiant. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like and do subscribe to our channel, please. And thanks for watching.